Welcome back to the Script Flip Network. I'm God blessed, and for now, we're gonna be talking about Canibus, Rip the Jacker, Saint Germaine. Uh, so this is a guy that I think a lot of people have underestimated. Um, for good reason, and I think a lot of people might have cooled off on him and given him their last bit of attention. A lot of people say that he's a jerk for this and that. And if I knew him personally, you know what I mean, I could speak on his character. But I think in some cases he might have burned bridges with people who didn't deserve to really be associated with him. So as far as his rap career goes, there's a really interesting sordid history as to why he doesn't work with this or that guy. Um, but it's also pretty amazing the type of people that he's involved himself with throughout his career. Uh, Not counting people that he's battled and stuff like that, but I really want to shed light on some things that the average consumer doesn't really consider when talking about can I bust. You know what I'm saying? Um, First of all, this guy has an extensive catalog, way bigger than a lot of people really think. Like with a lot of prolific artists, he's got more records than a lot of people have really listened to. He's one of those guys that people tend to think they treat him like they died at a certain point, and a lot of people reference Canibus' career up to like 2001 or something like that. And I understand, some of the records weren't that good, but um, don't count him out. You know what I mean? He continued to keep putting records out, and to be honest, I think his better work was somewhere between, For Whom the Beat Tolls up to Lyrical Law. And I think he continues to push out some pretty unique, thoughtful product. Now, when it comes to the lyrical quality, I think he's one of the greatest rappers who's ever graced the microphone. And he has a flow that's kind of predictable, but he's talking about some deep stuff, and so you can't really style on it too much, considering the subject matter. I know some people are critical about the fact that he's bringing up certain topics, but not really picking a side. He's kind of ambiguous with the stuff that he's talking about. However, if you were to just read one of his albums, you could Google for days on these different subjects and learn you up some. And I'm not gonna lie, this dude has taught me a lot of stuff by virtue of speaking about things that I did not know about. You know what I'm saying? So I think the fact that he doesn't really make a stance on certain topics and certain names and places and things like that, not only does it show that he has an encyclopedic knowledge of just things in general, but he allows the consumer, the listener, to kind of see what their own views are on those things. So, when he starts talking about different technologies and conspiracy theories and, oh man, I mean, he just doesn't do sports references and gun metaphors. So I think he's not designed for the typical rap head to listen to. And yeah, a lot of people don't like his beats, but it goes back to Nas too. Everybody says Nas is the greatest, Well, not everybody, but there's just this strong theme that like Nas is the greatest keep it real rapper. But personally, I kind of, I feel like I'm kind of a Nas fan. Like people are Canibus fans. Like I've heard the first few records and then kind of just forgot about him. And so I'd say, don't give up on Cannabis. You know what I'm saying? There's at least a couple tracks for you on all of his records, and if you consider yourself to be a deep, uh, thoughtful person, I think you should check him out. And if you don't like him screaming at you, his later career is more chill, definitely easier to listen to. But if you're an intelligent, type of cerebral character, you should look at the lyrics. You should Google the lyrics. Go to Genius, look up the annotations that people make, and try and learn about what he's talking about. Cause this dude is very clever. He's a super comedic, funny dude. But he's very deadpan, so it's hard to tell unless you're actively listening. That he's really he's going off. Um, Personally, I had trouble listening to him after Fait Accompli because it was such a dark record that it just really made me depressed. The picture that he was painting was that, you know, um, things are that bad. And I chose not to believe that. And, there's a time and a place to get deep into that stuff. And I feel like, as far as him being a conspiracy theorist and stuff like that, that record is probably the deepest on the subject. And if you ever wonder if you should invest in gold, you probably should. Fait Accompli is all about um, the one world government takeover, and it's a very, very, very uh, strange vibe. And I recently, not today, but I recently listened to Full Spectrum Dominance, and it's a lot of what you would expect from him. And I think that there's more to come from this guy. I would say don't give up on this dude. A lot of people say that he was blackballed, and a lot of people are drawn to people like that. They like to look at the powers that be and try and figure out why they would shut some people out. And some people just say that Canibus just, screwed people over. But I choose to believe that he might actually be a good dude, and that he might just be so passionate about certain things that he might turn on people who are lukewarm about things. And I think that for the average person who thinks that they know so much about the dude, you should check out some of his later material. Look past 2005 and up. Listen to Melatonin Magic, and listen to everything, man. Listen to Rip the Jacker. Listen to For Whom the Beat Tolls. I mean, there's just, oh man, when you listen to that Infinite Rhyme, dude, like there's so many remixes. I mean, you can't go wrong. Like when you start to remix the Poet Laureate Infinity, you can really dissect uh, his his approach to lyricism, and you can learn a lot, from his style. And I think every rapper should definitely go down that lane and take that trip down the rabbit hole that he's created. And biters. I think biters should all retire. You know what I mean? But if you're looking for more inspiration, you should check him out because I think he could definitely teach you a thing or two. And you know what I mean? I feel like everybody in the industry who's considered him to be whatever type of negative picture you're trying to paint of him, I think you should give him another chance. I think all you old school cats who are trying to dust off your microphone and get back in there, I think you should look him up, and I think you should have a long, deep conversation with him and see where he's at and see if you guys could link up. I think he would love to hear from you. All you producers out there who have been sitting on some beats just waiting for the right guy to get at them, I don't think you should talk to some young cat about it, unless it's me. I think you should give Canibus your beats. I think you should hook him up. And young guys who are looking clout chasing and stuff like that, and they're trying to get some features from certain established artists. Canibus is a guy who he does verses for almost anybody who can come up with the bread, and I think he would be a good feature for your mixtape or your album. So check him out for that. I mean, part of me wants to go through on this video and talk to you about some of the standout tracks of his career and try and make a case for why he's one of the greatest, but I think it's up to you to do the homework. He has a lot of songs, but before this is over, I do want to claim this. There's a mixtape series called Flashbacks, and it exists on YouTube. It's called like Canibus Lyrical Archive or something like that by Fat Beats, and that tape chronicles all of Canibus verses from songs that he was featured on that are not on his albums, from the beginning of his career up to like 2018 or something like that. And I made that mixtape series. It's like 8 hours or 9 hours or something like that of just verses with no hooks, from just all the songs that he was featured on. And I think that anybody who's even a mild Canibus fan, or who is curious about, just hearing some stuff they never heard before, I think you should check that out. They might still be available on like Dat Piff and stuff like that, but you should hit up any rippers you can find online who can get you links. And I didn't even intend to make this video about that, but I think it's time that I claim that I spent a lot of time going through trying to find all these songs and cut them together and stuff like that, so that people could hear what he had to say. You know what I mean? And it's an excellent resource. I got the idea from there was this tape called The Greatest Redman Mixtape Ever or something like that, and it was just a ton of Redman verses that I just had no clue about. And once I started to get deeper into Canibus, I realized this dude had a lot of songs, like we're talking more songs than a little bit. And so if you ever feel like, nah, I just don't like his beats or something like that, like right there, those Flashbacks mixtapes are a great resource for you to get into Canibus and listen to all kinds of different beats, because there's always something in there for you. However, I guess I got a few gripes about Canibus. One thing would be that the Poet Laureate Infinity sequel, Rip the Jacker 2 Infinity, never came out. And I remember asking M80 in person what the deal was, and he said he had nothing to do with it. And he didn't know about the record. And a lot of people, including myself, did pay in advance for the record. It was a huge undertaking, I'm sure, to make, but so far nothing's come of it. And I hope the record comes out. I hope it's dope, and I can't wait to hear it. So if anybody knows him, or if Canibus is watching this, we're still waiting for that, man. And to be honest, like, I'm not even mad. I know you said we spent that type of money at Benihana's on a date, that's funny, but like, some of us don't have it like that, you know what I mean? That's kind of a lot of money to be spending on a record we didn't get, so whip it up, you know what I mean? We want to hear it. I can't wait to remix that stuff. I can't wait to hear what you got, because I know you wrote some stuff. And on that note, It was supposed to come with an autobiography, and I can't wait to read that. I can't wait to see what that man wrote in his book. You know, maybe he'll publish it and we'll be able to get it at Barnes and Noble one day, but that's pretty much it. I could sit and talk all day about this dude. I think he's pretty fresh, so give him another shot. Thanks for checking this out. Let me know what you think about Canibus in the comment box. Peace.